Hey, what's up, Sluns? Joker here, and welcome finally to my review for Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. I know I said I was going to have it up on Monday, but unfortunately I had to push it up to the middle of the week. The reason was I was waiting for my new studio lights to come in, and I really wanted to use them for the video, so I hope you guys don't mind too much. Hopefully the video is looking better. Right now I'm using two lights, two umbrella lights, one for a fill light and one is my key light. I do have a third light, which I'm going to be using for a hair light. I just have to get something to hook it up above me because the stand that it came with is not really suited for going above my head. But I will have that set up hopefully for the next video. But I hope everything is looking a lot better. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the new lighting setup. So getting to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. I've been playing this game for a little over a week now. I've enjoyed it pretty much. There are a few things I'm going to nitpick, and we'll get into those pretty soon. But let's first, before we go into anything, let's just go ahead and take a look at the graphics options. You know, for the PC, for me, that's really one of the most important things. And I'll let you guys know how it's performing as well on my system with the two 780s. But first, let's look at the graphics options. All right, we've got lighting, mesh, motion blur, shadows, texture filtering, texture quality. Now, the texture quality thing has kind of been a source of debate since it's come out on the PC, specifically because of the fact that Ultra Textures, which came in a separate HD texture pack, is actually saying in the game that it requires 6 GB of video memory, and I can attest that it is very, very taxing on the video memory if you're trying to run that Ultra Texture pack. I would say you're going to need at least a 4 GB card. I've seen people out there that are running it with like 4 gig cards. It's using about 3,800 megabytes of video memory, so you might be able to get away with a 4 gig card, although don't quote me on that. I can tell you on my 780s I am running it on high textures. Everything else is up maxed, except I do have like things like depth of field, motion blur turned off, just because I do not like those options at all. After texture quality, of course, we got ambient occlusion, and then vegetation range, depth of field, order independent transparency, whatever the fuck that is, I have no idea, don't ask me. And finally, rounding it up, some nice tessellation action for DirectX 11. And if you do want to test out your system to see how the game is going to run, there is a built-in benchmark, which is really, really nice. I loved seeing that in games. I think every game should have a built-in benchmark. And this one is pretty good. It looks nice, and it really is representative of how the game might run in a very, very taxing area, probably like the most taxing environment you can imagine, like when you're in like one of the enemy bases or the garrison and there's just loads and loads of people on the screen and a lot of stuff going on. Running out in the open world, you know, you can expect better FPS than what you would get in the benchmark. But for me, on the two 780s, I'm running it pretty much capped 100 FPS with everything turned up besides the texture quality and, of course, the depth of field and motion blur, which I mentioned because I don't like them. And, you know, it's capped at 100 FPS, which I'm fine with. It's, you know, I would like it to go up to 144, but I'm not going to nitpick on that. It's definitely better than 60, so you really can't complain there. And SLI not working as of launch. They are saying it's going to be coming out in a driver update or through the GeForce Experience pretty soon. But right now you can use the Fear 3 SLI bits. In case you don't know how to do that, I posted a guide on this channel. You can go ahead and check that out. I posted that like last week or something, so it should be pretty easy for you to find. If not, I'll put a link down in the description for you. Alright, but that's enough of the graphics options. Let's go ahead and talk about the story and gameplay. Obviously, the game is set in Mordor, so don't expect a lot of varied environments. Some people have complained about that. I would like varied environments, but based, you know, for the story of the game, it's set in Mordor. It's right in the title, so you really can't blame them for having the entire game in Mordor, which is really not, you know, maybe not the greatest setting for a game. I don't know. It's, you know, it's you can take it or leave it. It's not really a big deal. I'm not gonna, you know, take off a point for it. It's just it's nice to see varied environments, and most of this is pretty much just very open, desolate areas, and a few like kind of like looks like broken down buildings. Like, you know, you can tell it's definitely like been through like wars and shit. Like this place definitely looks like it's been through the rigors. You know, definitely no fresh countryside here or anything like that. Very dark, drab Mordor, basically. If you know what Mordor looks like, that's what it looks like. And if they wanted to recreate that, they've done a great job, because it looks exactly like fucking Mordor. As far as the main character you play as Talion, who's a ranger from Gondor. Basically, you're there to kill orcs. You like killing orcs, I guess. But no, he's with a garrison that gets like ambushed, and then he like speaks to this ghost guy who's actually Celebrimbor? Celebrimber. I don't know how to say that. Celebrimber. I don't know if that's like Elvish or whatever. Yeah, it is Elvish actually. I know he's he's like an Elvish master smith, and he basically made all the rings of power, but I don't know how to say his fucking name. Celebrimbor, something like that. Anyway, so basically this ghost guy, he's got like some kind of beef with Sauron and shit because of the rings of power and how all that played out. And you're there basically as his like tool in Mordor, and he's working with you, and you've got like these powers and runes and things like that, and he's there to basically guide you along your way. Also, along in the story, you do meet up with a Gollum, who's actually a pretty decent voice actor, I have to say. Liam O'Brien filling in the shoes of Andy Serkis pretty well. Not the best, I mean, but he's doing pretty good. And of course, Talion, voiced by Troy Baker, the legend himself. But the Gollum one is, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's like a little weird. Like there's some singing parts I really didn't get, and the voice on the singing parts were just really, really weird.
Yes, precious. You stupid fat hobbitses. We like to have a juicy fish, so juicy sweet. You can keep your nasty chips. Give it to us raw and wriggle. Adam.
Honestly, I think I could have did better, if I'm being fair. Now, one would be hard-pressed to sit down and play Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor without being able to make the direct comparison between it, the Batman series, and of course Assassin's Creed. A lot of the open-world elements are very Assassin's Creed-like, where you're going around climbing towers to unlock areas, and you go around, you get the little collectibles, do the side quests, and kill certain people for like assassination-type contracts, or you're taking out the captains and war chiefs and things like that. So that kind of stuff gets very repetitive very quickly, and if you're not a fan of it from the Assassin's Creed series, then you're probably not going to be a fan of this game. Also, the combat is exactly like Batman, and not just kind of like it where it's kind of like a free flow system like Assassin's Creed and Batman have. No, it is an exact copy of the Batman combat system, where you basically build up combos and then do a double button press that does a finisher. It works well. It's very, very fluid. Don't get me wrong. The animations are excellent, but it does get repetitive really quick, especially if you're used to playing the Batman games and the Assassin's Creed games. All of it's going to feel very, I've been there, I've done it, to tedium almost to this point, and now you're doing it again. So, if you've become bored with those games, chances are you might be bored with this. The only really saving grace for that whole aspect is the fact that it is a Lord of the Rings game, which makes it it gives it a lot of extra cool points. You can forgive a lot of stuff in this game just because of the fact that it's a Lord of the Rings game. Sort of, if it was like a Star Wars game, I would instantly be able to forgive it, and just I don't care if it's copied every other game out there. If it's got a nice, gorgeous-looking Star Wars coat of paint, I'm going to sit down and play it because I love Star Wars. I also love Lord of the Rings. So that's, the reason I was able to sit down and play through all of this and be able to relatively enjoy myself, even though I was able to find a lot of things that I didn't really particularly like about it. And if it was another game, if it wasn't a Lord of the Rings game, or didn't have some sort of theme like that, I could see myself getting bored with it pretty fast and probably not ever finishing it. So let's go ahead and touch really quickly on the Nemesis system before we wrap things up. The way the Nemesis system works is basically you have these war chiefs that are the main guys. These are like your bosses basically, and then beneath them you've got all the captains, which are like the mini bosses. It's kind of like a little event every time you go and fight one of these guys, as opposed to just one of the normal orcs, or orcs, whatever you want to call them. Some of them have, different strengths and different weaknesses. Like one guy might be, affected by carambors or whatever, and you can go ahead and ride into battle on a carambor, and you could take him out if he doesn't like carambors, or if he's just, he could take a lot of damage from that. Some guys you could take out with arrows. Some guys you might have to take out with stealth. It's really varied, and it keeps it mixed up a little bit from, and breaks up the monotony of just going out there and killing the waves and waves of orcs that are so easy to find in the game. It adds a whole new level of depth to it. Something that I think the Assassin's Creed series would really benefit from if they would bring in a really pure assassination mechanic like the Nemesis system, because that is really one of the key selling points about this game, besides the fact that it's a Lord of the Rings title. And, it really adds a lot of longevity to it, because once you complete the game, you can always run around and kill shit tons of orcs all day long. Once you kill a captain, he gets replaced by someone else, and the other captains, they get promoted to war chiefs and things like that. So there's a constant regeneration of captains and war chiefs, and there's a lot of, you could do that pretty much forever if you don't get tired of it. But finally, wrapping things up, I'm going to go ahead and give Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor a 6 out of 10.
6 preciouses.
That's right, 6 Smeagol's out of 10. 6 Golems, if you would, out of 10. And basically, what does that mean? I think it is worth your time. I just don't think it's worth $50 at this point, which is what it's selling for on Steam. If you really can't wait, I would go on G2A. You can probably get it pretty cheap on there. I've seen it for like $38. Obviously, the prices on there fluctuate because of the way the marketplace is. But you know what? If it's a little bit higher, wait a couple days, it might go down. But if not, I would wait for a Steam sale. That would be another good option because I'm sure over the holidays we'll probably see this drop down to like $20 or even less. And, you know, for a price like that, it would definitely be hard to pass up because it is a pretty decent game. It's an okay story, and at the end of the day, it's Lord of the Rings, and if you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies or the books, obviously you're going to want to play this game, and it's going to be worth your time and your money. But that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, stick a like below. Don't forget to comment. And you can always follow me on Facebook and Twitter at JokerSlunt. Or you can get back to my channel very quickly by simply going to JokerSlunt.com. I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra!